Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Friday Flair. Today we have to talk about Manchester City. Despite a 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest during the midweek, it is still looking very bad for City right now. During this stretch in November, they didn't win a single game from October 30th until this match in December here to open up December for them. They have during that stretch of November one, two, three, four, five, six losses in 7 games, and the seventh match, which was in the Champions League, they blew a 3-0 lead with just 75 minutes left to go in the or just 15 minutes left to go in the second half. Of course, we have to talk about how are they going to fix this? There's some glaring issues like the replacement of Rodri, and then there's some that just you see pop up, and then you're like, oh, they need to change that. Oh, they need to change that. The first one being the defensive issues on the right flank, and the second one being the energy in midfield. We're going to talk about all three keys, though. Let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. First off, we have to look at replacing Rodri. I say replacing in quotation marks because you're not going to replace him. You're not going to replace him. You're going to just have a backup for him. So the question then becomes, okay, who is a suitable backup for him? And that's where we look at players like an Adam Wharton, who has Premier League experience, who is very solid defensively. He has had just limited Premier League experience, just a season coming in from to Crystal Palace from the Championship. And you have to ask questions, does he fit the system? He's solid defensively, decent at progressing the ball, but is he really going to be the answer in that sixth spot for City? I really don't think so. I think you could go with a few better options. We're going to talk about one of them right here. That's Ederson of Atalanta. Strong ball progressor with attacking contributions, 2 goals and 1 assist so far this season, but his regressive passive numbers are really what you want to be looking at here. Ederson progressing the ball very well so far for Atalanta in what has been a touch and go season for them so far. And finally, the last player is a player I've seen a lot more of so far these last few weeks is Morten Hjulmand. He has actually been linked with City. Would be okay sitting behind Rodri, I believe. I believe of those 3 players, the one that would accept being on the bench would be Hjulmand. The Danish international plays at Sporting right now, plays defensive mid for them, is the captain as well. So you have a leader on the pitch if he does come and join from Sporting this January. I think he would be the one that makes the most sense in that DM spot because he would be willing to play on the bench. He would be a true 6 as well. He wouldn't be one of these 8s like we've got with Kovacic, with Gundogan, with Matthias Nunes, where they're 8s playing as a 6. He would be a true 6. Now, could he play as a 6 by himself? I don't think so. I think you would still need to play Kovacic, Nunes, or Gundogan beside him. But let's go ahead. Let's look at key number 2, the energy in the midfield. Now, looking at the Manchester City midfield, we do have 1 8 and 2 10s that we're looking at here. We've got a little bit more older player in Barella, slightly older than the other 2 we're going to talk about. Not as attacking as our other 2 options. He definitely plays more as an 8 in this hypothetical system that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, it's under Pep Guardiola, so we know what we're going to talk about. But if we want to talk again about progressive passing numbers, 8.14 progressive passes per 90 in this Inter Milan team in the last year. Versatility to play as an 8 alongside Rodri, so we wouldn't have to worry about him backing up Rodri. We could see him play next to him. Less attacking than our other options, of course, as I mentioned. But up next, we got to go with an attacking option. A young German international playing for Bayer Leverkusen, Florian Wirtz. Unreal player. 21 years old, 14 goal contributions already this season. Long-term potential for Manchester City. Definitely can take over the creative opportunities that would be vacated by a player like Kevin De Bruyne eventually leaving. He's relatively young, obviously, to a lot of players, but I think his experience in the top level of Germany has, shown his potential, shown his level. I think that it would be very important for City to go and get him. However, we have to talk about the English/German dual international, Jamal Musiala. Obviously, 10 goal contributions in 15 games. He's probably the most likely to make a move to England. Wirtz would replace him at Bayern. And then, we see Musiala sold for a higher fee than Wirtz would go for to Manchester City. Definitely something I could see happening unless City go and get the Musiala replacement, which would be Florian Wirtz. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that kind of trifecta. You've got three teams. Obviously, Leverkusen are not going to gain any player here. They're going to be looking to keep Wirtz. And then hopefully Musiala is a player that they then, we'll see what happens there. But I do think the player that City is most likely to go and grab would be a player like Musiala, just because, again, I think he's more likely to leave City than anyone else. And then lastly, we have to talk about the defensive woes of Kyle Walker on that right flank. He's just not at the same level he used to be. So we have a few options here. We do have a few players we can go look at. Obviously, we don't know exactly what City's situation looks like on finances. Obviously, also you have to take into account we don't know what's going to happen with the Chargers. So I think this right back position they go kind of budget with. I don't think that City, let me clarify, I don't think they're struggling for money, but with the 115 Chargers, it may be hard to bring players in there. But taking a look at our right back options, you have Rico Lewis, who is talented and has been able to play in that fullback position. He has actually been protecting Kyle Walker while he's playing in midfield. But you have to ask yourself, is he an ideal long-term defensive solution? I think he's probably a little better in midfield than he is at the right back position. It's really difficult to call here. I do think that this is a player that would suit Manchester City's system better in midfield than he would as a right back. So I do think that they should keep their eyes open to sign a right back to replace Kyle Walker in the future and keep Rico Lewis's. Yeah, he's cover at right back, similar to what Thomas Partey's doing right now at Arsenal, where he's a DM, but he has been playing a little bit of right back as well. Up next, we have to introduce Girona's Arnau Martinez, part of the City group. He's a solid passer, good defender. He lacks the elite ball progression skills that you would expect. We would, if we see him, I think, move a player like John Stones in the midfield, where then Arnau Martinez can be more of a passer. When we look at Martinez, though, we have to look at him, being able to play as a right center back. Is he going to be a right back? If you look at him, his ball progression skills are much better at passing than they are carrying the ball. So, I do think it'll be difficult to replace him with a player of his same caliber and kind of the same skill set as Kyle Walker. But I do think Arnau Martinez, with his passing ability, could do a job at City. I think he could be an option for City as well. Looking at our right back, our final right back we're going to talk about is 26-year-old Alexander Ba. He's hitting his peak. He can dribble, can defend, can pass, can run. He has some pace on him as well. So, you count a little bit of everything with him. It's difficult to make a call between Martinez and Alexander Ba of Benfica. But I'll go ahead and I'll talk about the City team as a whole before we get into that. As if I am Manchester City, if I'm Pep Guardiola, I've got three names on my board for January. I've got first, I've already hit on it, Morten Hjulman, the center midfielder, adds defensive steel. He's, depth for Rodri's absence, as well as he offers a backup if you ever want to rotate the squad. I feel like Rodri's one of those players, they never were really able to rotate in big games. Obviously, you want him there for the big games, but if you have a big game on a Sunday and then you play Wednesday Champions League, obviously that's a difficult situation to replace Rodri in. And then obviously you've got that situation where you've got 2 8s there. So if you can play a lone 6, continue to do that with the absence of Rodri, I think Hjulman could come into that position well. At our right back position, I originally, when I wrote the script for this video, went with Alexander Ba, but I do think, you never really saw the attacking side of Kyle Walker at City. And that's why I think actually you want an Arnau Martinez, a player that can pass and you're not relying on him to dribble. He's never going to try to progress the ball with him by himself. Alexander Ba obviously tries to do that, but we're not going to go with 2 Danish players. We're going to go with the Spaniard Arnau Martinez, the right back, that I think comes in and will do a very good job at City if he were to join in from Girona. And then, of course, obviously, you look at Martinez. He's partnered on that right flank at Girona, at a very good Girona team with Savinho. Could that finally unlock Savinho for City? Obviously, they've had difficulties getting him flowing through these last few weeks. Obviously, you also had a player like Alex Garcia, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Just I think it's Alex, but it's spelled Aleix. I'm not quite sure, so don't quote me on that. But another player that kind of played in that Girona team that could have been really a key signing to unlock Savinho. And then lastly, in the 10 spot, I wanted to go with Verts just because he would be the cheaper option. I thought about Barella just to bring that energy to midfield and really be a good 8 next to Rodri, but obviously that's not a City system. I went with Jamal Musiala. I think he brings youth. I think he brings creativity. I think he brings flair. I just hope that he's really allowed to do what he can do. If you want a player that'll fit into a system, go buy Florian Wirtz because he probably fits a City system better. But I think if we're looking at the most talented player and we're looking past Pep Guardiola and we're looking at the future of Manchester City, Jamal Musiala is that name. But finally, that's it for me. We've talked about midfield replacements. We've talked about energy in the squad. We've talked about solving a defensive issue in Manchester City's lineup. Obviously, they went on and won their game today at the time of recording this 3-0. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who do you sign in January? Are these signings enough to secure even more silverware for the citizens? And let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on City's fall off this season. And who do you think is leading the title race this season? Who do you got? Who's going to go win the title? Does City make a comeback? Does Liverpool continue their form? Is Arsenal going to hunt them down? And of course, dark horse Chelsea, currently in second at the time of recording this on goal difference ahead of Arsenal. Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.